Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. I'm finally doing this video about the cicadas that are going to be emerging this year in the United States in a rare event. I've known about this for a while. I got, the first email about it a long time ago. I looked into it and at the time it didn't really interest me, but I was just feeling it today. I've gotten many emails and comments. Like a lot of people have been trying to tell me about this, and I knew about it for a long time, but today I just felt like it, and so I looked into it, and there are some interesting things to talk about with this event. In fact, the most interesting of which for me is where this is going to occur and where it's not going to occur. This is going to be good, so just hang in there. Okay, so we're looking at NBC News. Billions of cicadas will emerge in the U.S. this year in a rare double brood event. This year's dual emergence is a rare, synchronized event that last occurred in 1803. So let's just take a quick look at my Second Coming timeline, which doesn't contain every significant event, but just what I'm currently tracking, and I'm always adding to this. So 1803... what I have is that's the year that the Napoleonic Wars started. And then 2 years later, that's when Joseph Smith was born in 1805. So that's kind of interesting. We've talked a lot about what seemed to be President Nelson's bookends, or if you don't want to think of it as President Nelson's bookends, the last 7 years, events that have taken place about 7 years ago and similar events that are taking place now. Well, maybe this is like a Joseph Smith or this dispensation bookend event. I don't know, but that's when this last occurred. Okay, so let's go back to the article. It's official. 2024 belongs to the cicadas. This spring, 2 different broods of cicadas, one that lives on a 13-year cycle and the other that lives on a 17-year cycle, will emerge at the same time from underground in a rare synchronized event that last occurred in 1803. Billions of the winged insects will make an appearance across the Midwest and the Southeast, beginning in some places in late April, for a raucous mating ritual that tends to inspire fascination and annoyance in equal measure. This year's dual emergence is a once-in-a-lifetime event. While any given 13-year brood and 17-year brood can occasionally emerge at the same time, each specific pair will see their cycles aligned only once every 221 years. What's more, this year's cicada groups known as Brood 13 and Brood 19 happen to make their homes adjacent to one another with a narrow overlap in central Illinois. Okay, so that's interesting, because it'd be one thing if you had 2 broods that were like one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, and they're happening at the same time. That'd probably still be interesting. But the fact that they're like right next to each other and there's a little bit of an overlap, so that's something to pay attention to. All right, continuing, it says, quote, Thomas Jefferson was president the last time these 2 broods came out. So is it rare? Yes, said Gene Kritsky, an entomologist at Mount St. Joseph University in Cincinnati and author of A Tale of 2 Broods, a book about this year's dual emergence that was published earlier this month. I'm sure that's very interesting reading. These types of cicadas are periodical insects that spend most of their lives underground feeding on tree roots. After 13 years or 17 years, depending on their brood, the cicadas will tunnel to the surface to reach maturity. Okay? Pay attention to that. Reach maturity and engage in a month-long noisy search for a mate. Okay, so now we're starting to get into the meat of what I want to talk about. When I read this, reach maturity, and as I was looking at where this is taking place, it made me think of something that Jeffrey R. Holland said. So before I read that, the reason why I initially didn't really care too much about this is because when I saw this map, I was like, oh, well, I mean, you have this group over here where they're going to emerge. Then you have this group up here. And yeah, it's happening at the same time, but it's not like they're all happening in the same location, because that would be like a double whammy at the same time. And so essentially, like if you were in one of these areas, and this happens, it's like, well, this has happened before. It happened, 13 years ago. It happened 17 years ago. And it's happening again. And yeah, there's another one taking place right next to us, but it's not like all of a sudden you have like twice the amount of cicadas that you normally would, every 13 years or every 17 years. Right. So that's why I wasn't really that interested in it. I thought it was kind of like interesting. It was mildly interesting and it could mean something, but now what I'm about to show you, I think does make this even more interesting. So you notice that we're mostly talking about Illinois and Missouri. These are two states that have played a big part in church history. At one point, the headquarters of the church was in Nauvoo, Illinois. Right? That was the site of the second temple of this dispensation. And then the other state is Missouri, which has had significance and has future significance to us because that is the state that has Adam-ondi-Ahman in it, as well as Far West, which was church headquarters at one time. And at some point, I'm sure we're going to have that temple built in Far West like they originally tried to do. But more significantly, we have Jackson County, which includes the site of the New Jerusalem, as well as the Garden of Eden. So for this to be taking place in these two states, and you have like all these other states too, but you can see that it's primarily taking place in Missouri and Illinois. In fact, like the majority of the state is going to see this. That is interesting. So we think about these church sites that were abandoned back in the early days of the church because of persecution. And now here we are. We're back. We have a temple in Kansas City. We have the Nauvoo temple. It's been rebuilt. We're back. Okay. So let's read what Jeffrey R. Holland said. So I have this quote on my quotes common misconceptions spreadsheet. It's under the topic New Jerusalem, the misconception, the entire church still has to be gathered to New Jerusalem / Jackson County / Missouri. And that's not true. There's not going to be a time when the entire church is going to be in Jackson County. New Jerusalem was not designed originally to contain the entire church. It was designed to have 15 to 20,000 people. And once the city was full, a new city would be built. And then it would go on, and you have New Jerusalem as the center stake. And then after that, you have the rest of the stakes of Zion, and that's where you gather to. But anyway, that's not the point of this video. But if you want to look into this more, the link for my spreadsheets is in the description box below. This one is under the tab or the spreadsheet, quotes, common misconceptions. So what I'm going to read is from President Jeffrey R. Holland in an article called The Call to be Christ-like in the June 2014 Ensign. And this is what he said. One of the many unique characteristics of our dispensation is the changing nature of how we establish the kingdom of God on earth. And then later on, he says, in these last days, in our dispensation, we have become mature enough. So just like how these cicadas are becoming mature and they're about to, emerge and brood, we have become mature enough to stop running. Keep this in mind. We have become mature enough to plant our feet and our families and our foundations in every nation, kindred, tongue, and people permanently. Zion is everywhere, wherever the church is. And with that charge, we no longer think of Zion as where we are going to live. We think of it as how we are going to live. Okay. So let's get back to this. Let's see. Did I have anything else on this one? Yes. Okay. Once they reach the surface, the insects shed their nymph exoskeletons and unfurl their wings. I just highlighted that because pretty soon we're going to be caught up. We're going to be with Christ in the clouds, whatever that looks like, whatever that means, or whatever that is. It seems like it's literal. We're actually going to go up, so I just kind of highlighted that. It typically takes several more days for their adult skin to harden. Yeah, and think about this. When Christ comes and the millennium starts, all those that are still in mortality are going to be changed. We're not going to be resurrected. We're going to continue our mortal lives, but our bodies are going to be quickened. We're going to have translated bodies. We've talked about this quite a bit on the channel. But we're going to have bodies that no longer experience disease. We've talked about the fact that there's no longer going to be blood. It's going to be the way that it was before the fall, before blood started circulating in the veins of mankind. There's a lot of things. We're going to have different bodies. Okay. So that's another interesting parallel. So going up, having a different body, still being the same creature, but having a different body, being more mature, moving on. All right. The mating ritual itself is a whirlwind with just weeks for cicadas to find a mate and lay their eggs before they die. The entire process lasts about 6 weeks. By July 1st, they're gone, Kritsky said. All right, and then let's move on to this. Just a couple more facts, and then we're going to start looking at maps and locations. This is from University of Connecticut. Okay, generally, a 13-year brood emerges in the same year as a 17-year brood, roughly every 5 to 6 years. Now, these aren't the only two broods. There's like a whole bunch of different broods. Okay, so it's saying that out of like this big collection of different broods within the United States, about every 5 to 6 years, you have 13-year broods and 17-year broods that emerge at the same time. Okay, but okay. Though most of the 17-year broods are not in contact with a 13-year brood, so the different cicadas are clearly separated in space. Any two specific broods of different life cycles co-emerge only every 221 years. So in other words, if I'm understanding this correctly, it's saying, okay, so within a year, 365 days, every 5 to 6 years, you have a 13-year and a 17-year brood happen in the same year. But what's happening right now with what we're talking about, it's not just within the same year, it's at the same time of the year. Does it make sense? Okay. 2024 is a special year for periodical cicadas. You will be able to see all 7 named periodical cicada species. It's an interesting number. As adults in the same year, which will not happen again until 2037. You will not see all 7 named species emerge in the state of Illinois again until 2041. So this is another thing that makes this event, rare, uncommon. And then 13-year brood 19 and 17-year brood 13 do not overlap to any significant extent. They may co-occur in patches of woods, but these patches will be small in size. So again, we're talking about this right here, how they're like bordering each other and there's just like a tiny bit of overlap. So that's what that's talking about. Because the broods do not overlap to any significant extent, the 2024 co-emergence of brood 13 and 19 will not involve areas of extreme or double densities outside the norm of what happens in any other periodical cicada emergence year. So again, that's why I wasn't originally that interested in this, because it would be crazier. It'd be crazier if these blue dots were overlapping the red dots, if it was all like happening in the same location, because then it'd be like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Okay, but this is a rare event for a few different reasons. But now let's talk about locations. All right, so USA Today has this article, um, Trillions of Cicadas. See how and where dual cicada broods will emerge in 2024. And they have this map, and the map is by county. So this is where I started getting the idea of like, I wonder where this is occurring and where it's not occurring, because you can see the Kansas City area over here. They're not going to have any cicadas. And then I was kind of like looking over here at the Nauvoo area, and I was thinking about Adamantiaman, and I wanted to find out for sure, are there going to be cicadas in those areas? Okay, so here's the blown up map so you can see it a little bit easier. So what I did is, let's get rid of that. All right, so you see Jackson County right here, right? Jackson County, the future site of the center place, New Jerusalem. Also the location of the Garden of Eden. So you'll have to pay attention to the shapes here. So you have Jackson County. You see how like this comes down, and then after that it becomes a straight line going south. So Jackson County is like right there. So let me show you over here. Here it is, where my mouse is. You can see there's no cicadas in that area. So that's interesting. The gray color, just so you're not confused, the gray color represents counties where other cicada broods are found. Okay, but as far as broods 13 and 19, they're not going to be in these areas this year, and they may never be in those areas. I don't know. Okay, so Jackson County is not going to see it. Let's go back to the Missouri map. You have Caldwell County, which is where Far West is, which was headquarters of the church at one time. And then you have Daviess County, where Adamantiaman are. So the easy way to track this, like look at this weird looking county right here. Okay. Or you can look at these ones right here. There's like this, I don't know, just look at it. I don't know. Or you can go Jackson County, go up to the right, the up, and then to the right, and then up two more. And those are the counties that we're talking about. And so here you go. So here's Jackson County. Here's those two counties right here. There's that weird looking one. And you have Adamantiaman, which interestingly doesn't have any cicadas in it, according to this map. And then you have Caldwell County right here. So Jackson County, Caldwell County, and Daviess County, they're not going to be participating in this event. So think about it this way. We were driven from these locations, and here we are toward the end of this. So that was the beginning of this dispensation. Here we are toward the end of it, and we have this event that's taking place that you could look at through a symbolic lens. And as you can see, most of Missouri is going to be experiencing these cicadas. You can look at it as kind of like a pestilence type thing, event that's taking place. So we were driven from our headquarters and where we wanted to settle, but now we're back and we are settled in, and we're not going anywhere. And now the cicadas are emerging, and they're affecting pretty much the rest of the state, the majority of the state. In fact, I counted up these counties, and this is how it goes. For Missouri, you have a total of 114 counties. You see that? And there's 31 of them that are not going to have the cicadas. So that's 27% of Missouri counties will not experience the cicadas. So it's a small minority. About 3/4 of Missouri will, but about a quarter will not. And that quarter that does not includes Jackson County, Caldwell, and Daviess County. All right, well, what about Illinois? Okay, so here's Hancock County. Okay. Just, I don't know, take a minute to look at the shape, and then we'll go back. So let me go like this. We'll go back to this over here. And here's Hancock County. This was at one time headquarters of the church in Nauvoo. And guess what? There aren't going to be any cicadas in Hancock County. But look at the rest of Illinois. Illinois is going to see the two broods, 13 and 19. And you can see just by looking at it that the majority of Illinois are going to experience the cicadas. So I did the same thing with Illinois. Illinois has 102 counties. 21 counties will not experience the cicadas. So that's only 20.5% of the state will not see the cicadas. So about 80% of the state will. And that's, of course, that's not land area. That's just going by counties. I don't know. I'm not going to go and calculate the actual land area. But you get the idea. If we're just talking about counties, most of them will see the cicadas. And it's interesting to note that the place that won't is Nauvoo. So we're mature enough to plant ourselves, and we've returned. And we're getting toward the end of this dispensation. I think the second coming is going to be soon. We ourselves are going to see a change in our bodies. We're emerging, I guess you could say. The Book of Mormon has come out of the ground, right? It's speaking from the dust. The church is emerging. It's rising, and it's going to literally rise pretty soon. And yeah, all these other counties are being affected, but not where the church has had its headquarters. So that's what I think is interesting about this. There was one other thing. What was that thing? What? Oh yeah, that's right. Let's go to Illinois again. So you see that I have this other Jackson County that's highlighted. So Jackson County, Illinois. Now, some of you already know the significance of Jackson County, Illinois. There's no church history sites there, but it is the location of the two eclipses, the 2017 eclipse and the upcoming 2024 eclipse, and where they intersect. They intersect in a town or near a town called Carbondale, and this is in Jackson County, Illinois. I don't know that there's anything to that, the fact that it's called Jackson County, but it's interesting to note. And when we look at the map, okay, so here's Jackson County right here. Let's go to the cicada map. And here's Jackson County right here. There's like this just little area, even though it's surrounded by these cicadas, there's these two counties. One of them is Jackson County. That's not going to have the cicadas where the eclipses cross each other. So that's kind of weird. So just like a lot of other things, a lot of other big events, I see symbolism. Some people think it's silly, and that's fine. You may receive revelation in a different way. That doesn't mean that other people don't receive revelation different from you, or are able to see other things that you don't. So, anyway, this is the case. These are the facts. Does it mean what I'm talking about? I don't know. It's just interesting to pay attention to and to think about. It's another one of those things that just seem very unlikely, that none of the church headquarter sites, Jackson County, you know, future church headquarters, Far West, Nauvoo, they're not going to see the cicadas, and neither is Adam-ondi-Ahman. I guess you could say Adam-ondi-Ahman was church headquarters at the time of Adam and Eve, so that's another way to think about it. But that's going to be it for this one. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.